Hey, my name is Rowan Smith and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare and conquer your upcoming hike, trek or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. Alright, hello guys. Today we are talking about a few strategies you can use to help improve your hiking speed while going uphill. Now, this is a question I get from hikers all the time. And beyond the things we've talked about already on this podcast about specifically improving your cardiovascular function or specifically improving your muscle burn going up hills, the pure fact this all comes together and some people just find themselves really slow in these uphill sections, which if they're hiking by themselves might not be that big a deal. But if they're hiking with friends or in a group, and they're constantly at the back of the pack when going up hills, it can be a bit disheartening and it can get you self-conscious, it can get you a bit stressed, and it can just suck a lot of the enjoyment out of a day. So if you put a little bit of effort in your training, in your preparation to help you in this particular section, you can significantly improve your speed going up hills, you can significantly improve your comfort, and it's going to be good in so many different ways. So today I want to share with you some really simple tips you can use to help get on top of this. Now, fair warning, none of these tips are completely new. I've covered them on the podcast many times before, but if you do find yourself in this situation, this might be a good reminder for you to make sure you are doing these 4 things because they do make a difference. Now, tip number 1, what I recommend is get really strong at step ups. Now, step ups, and the hiker's favorite exercise, it's the single most applicable exercise for when you're hiking up hills. It's literally the same thing, just stepping up or stepping up onto a step or whatever it is. And it's literally the same thing. And, it makes common sense that this is going to help you in this situation. And in all honesty, almost every single hiker should be doing step ups at one stage of their training. It's super relevant. But one mistake I often see from hikers with this, as we talked about in the general strength training recommendations earlier in this podcast, is just doing endless amounts of bodyweight step-ups or really light step-ups. So just doing long periods, doing 15 plus repetitions again and again. And yes, this can be beneficial, don't get me wrong, and it's good to include here and there. But if you're really trying to improve your speed going up hills, I highly recommend that you challenge yourself with your weight in this particular exercise. So load up with a dumbbell, with a barbell, with a loaded pack. Find a resistance that feels like a genuine challenge. Now, you don't have to be absolutely straining your life away. You don't have to be collapsing over yourself or anything like that, but something that is a challenge. And push yourself on this particular exercise. Do 8 repetitions or less in your sets and really try to, stack up the weight. And then each time you do it, try to add a tiny bit more. It might literally just be an extra pound or an extra half kilo every single time you do it, but really progress this. And if you can get super strong at this particular exercise as part of, your general strength training as a whole, it can be really beneficial to improving your speed going up hills and helping your muscles function in that particular way and produce force and power when you're going up. So I highly recommend you get around that. Tip number 2 is go really quick with your aerobic power intervals. Now, if you haven't been listening to this podcast for a while, you may not be aware of this, but basically aerobic power intervals are my absolute favorite interval training for hikers. Basically, the theory behind them and the sort of the science that goes behind them, and it's the idea around these particular intervals is they target the very top intensity your body can maintain while predominantly using your aerobic energy system for fuel. So it's not like standard, HIIT training where you're just doing super quick sprints for 10, 20, 40 seconds or something like that. That has its time and its place, but it's not, particularly well thought out. But these sort of particular intervals and the particular timings I'm going to mention in a second really target this aspect of your energy system development, which specifically will help you going up hills cardiovascularly. And going really quick with this and really focus on this can make a significant difference to you being able to maintain a quicker pace when you're going up hills without getting huffed and puffed. So generally what I recommend here is find a stationary bike, an elliptical or a rower. If you're an experienced runner and you're used to running quick, you might be able to do this. But generally I'd say do some type of off-feet conditioning. You want to go really, really, really quick for 2.5 minutes. So go quick as you can maintain for 2.5 minutes. At the end of those 2.5 minutes, you should be huffing and puffing. You should be tired. Then you want to have a complete rest for 1.5 minutes. So just catch your breath, take it easy, and you'll repeat this 5 to 7 times. And really, really put some effort into this. And each time you do it, either go a little bit quicker or add an extra set on. Do this for 4, 5, 6 weeks, and it will make a massive difference to your speed going up hills. Tip number 3 is practice hill intervals. Now, if you struggle on hills, doing some hill intervals in your training, it's common sense, and you should be doing it. Because if you're just going out hiking every once a week or every couple of weeks or even once a month, and that's the only exposure you're getting to this particular section of the trail and you're struggling on it, it's just not enough exposure to get better, and you will constantly struggle in it. However, if you can practice this regularly through your week and you can apply training principles and put a bit of structure behind it and get more exposure to this particular stimulus, it will really, really pay off on the trail, and I highly, highly recommend it. So find a steep hill or a steep set of stairs, climb to the top, return to the bottom, and repeat a bunch of times. Each time you do it, just add a little bit more or maybe add a bit of weight in a loaded pack. The simplest training you can do, but super, super, super effective. And I'd highly recommend doing this once a week if you do struggle with this type of thing. And then the final tip I want to mention is practice nose breathing when you're climbing hills on the trail. So when you're actually going up these hills on the trail, try to stick to a pace where you can constantly breathe through your nose. Or if you've got a bit of a dodgy nose or it's really cold and you can't breathe through your nose, at a pace where you can happily maintain a conversation. Now, initially, this may seem counterintuitive because it may slow you down even more, and you may feel like you're going at a crawl to keep at this pace where you can, constantly breathe through the nose, and it may be a bit frustrating. But if you stick with this, and if you practice this for 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 hikes or something like that, and as your aerobic fitness develops, as your body gets used to maintaining this pace going uphill, it can really, really dramatically increase your pace going up hills. Because ideally, as you get fitter, you're going to be able to go quicker and quicker and quicker while maintaining this nose breathing pace, which is very, very fuel efficient. And you're going to be able to continually progress that speed without getting exhausted. Now, fair warning, this will take a bit of time with this particular technique. And again, it will feel like you're going backwards initially. But if this is a section you struggle with, this is something I'd highly recommend you give a go. So 4 steps there to improving your speed hiking up hills. In your strength training, make sure you're challenging the weight on step ups. Do some aerobic power intervals and really, really push these quick. Get huffed and puffed. Practice hill intervals and practice nose breathing on the trail. Put these things together and I 100% guarantee in about 4, 5 or 6 weeks, you'll notice a big, big difference on the trail when you're going uphill. So give it a go, give it a crack and see how it plays out. Now, if you did want extra help with this, if you did want some extra ideas around training, around exercises, or you want to see how to load up those step-ups in a safe way or whatever it may be, if you need a bit extra help on this topic, you can come and find me in the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. Now, as I always say, inside that group, I'm always happy to expand on these subjects a little bit more, go into further detail, share exercise videos, and a whole bunch of other things. So if you were interested in that, it's the Training for Hiking and Trekking Facebook group. You can find that in the show notes below or just find it on Facebook. So thank you so much for listening today, guys. I do hope you got a bit out of it, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye.